Welcome to Rock Solid Sports, the only sports show here in Knoxville with a home field advantage. I'm Sierra Galanza, and as always, I'm here with Forman and Tanner Carson. You are watching our Week 7 preview of the UT-Alabama game, taking place this Saturday, kickoff at 3:30 here at Neyland Stadium on CBS. So, gentlemen, last week, Tennessee just suffered their first loss of the season. So what do they need to do to pull out of this game on Saturday?
Well, Sierra, for Tennessee to win, I've got 3 keys. One, they've got to limit turnovers and hold on to the ball. Second of all, they have got to actually catch the ball. And third of all, they have got to make sure that Alabama earns every single point they get. You can't give up any easy points, whether it be a pick six, a punt return, a kick return to Alabama. Give up easy points, that spells trouble for whoever is on the other side of the field for the Crimson Tide.
Well, for Tennessee, they have to kind of pick up where they left off against Texas A&M. Alvin Kamara became the first Power 5 player in the last 20 years to have both 150 yards receiving and 120 yards rushing in the same game. He was absolutely all over the place against Texas A&M. So to have a chance to beat Alabama, you have to feed him the rock. He needs to get the majority of the carries and the majority of the touches out of the offense. Even though Jalen Hurts coming back, you still need to feed him. Let Kamara be your #1 option. And just like it was for the Florida and the Georgia game, when you're against tough competition, you have to unleash Dobbs. Let him go just 100% non-handcuffed. Let him make plays wherever he can. And for UT's defense, hope Derek Kirkland can come back. Hope he can contribute very greatly from that linebacker position, because especially against Alabama's rushing attack, it is key that the linebacker position needs to play the best they have all year.
Okay, and to follow up with that, Alabama will be here at Neyland Stadium next Saturday. What do they need to do as a #1 team to pull out a W against Tennessee?
Well, for Alabama to win this game, I kind of see it as 2 simple keys. One, they've got to find a way to score on defense. They've found a way to score in almost every single game this season defensively. Obviously, when you score on defense, that improves your odds of winning. And then they need to control the clock. We saw Texas A&M do this in the first half and not so much in the second half. They kept the Tennessee offense off the field. Keep Tennessee's offense off the field, you're keeping their most dynamic playmakers and their healthiest unit off the field, and that obviously means Tennessee won't have a lot of shots to put points up on the score.
Sam, you just hit a great point on the head. Alabama has 7 defensive touchdowns this year. They have a streak of getting a defensive touchdown every game going back into last season. They find a way to turn you over and make you pay for it by taking you to the end zone. So to do that against Tennessee, you got to force Dobbs to make mistakes, run with that secondary. Mika Fitzpatrick had 3 interceptions last week, brought 100 yards back to the house against Arkansas. So you know the Alabama secondary is deadly. You know that pass rush is deadly, led by Ryan Anderson and Jonathan Allen. Force Dobbs into mistakes like he has been known to make all throughout his career. Tennessee leads the country in fumbles. They will turn it over, and Alabama can force them to do that. So just be like you have all year, be the dominating presence, and Tennessee will be forced to make mistakes. And on offense, just gotta let Jalen Hurts, that true freshman quarterback from Alabama, be as just great as he's been all year, make plays with his feet. He has that strong arm. He has a great core wide receivers to throw to, led by Calvin Ridley. You can feast on that UT secondary still without Cam Sutton. So basically, Alabama needs to do whatever they have to do to make sure this is not a close game in the second half against Tennessee, because as we've seen all year, it's the zombie balls. They find a way to come back into the game, especially in the second half. Alabama needs to make sure they put the game away early at Neyland Stadium.
More specifically, what players will you be looking at very closely, offensively or defensively, on Tennessee?
Well, offensively, it's number 11, Astro Dobbs, Josh Dobbs. The offense starts and stops with him. He has got to find success running the ball and passing the ball against Alabama for Tennessee to have success on offense. Defensively for Tennessee, it's all about number 9, Derek Barnett. He had a major impact against Texas A&M. He has a chance to do that again against Alabama, potentially missing a starting lineman or 2, or a massively reshuffled line, depending on how Alabama and Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin decide to approach it. He has a chance to be big, and he is going to have to make tackles against the running backs to keep the balls in a position to win the game.
Like I mentioned earlier, and talk about what Tennessee needs to do to win the game, their offense has to be running through the 6. Alvin Kamara, he had that amazing performance against Texas A&M. It's just he fits this offense so well, and I think to have any shot against Alabama, he has to run wild again, has to kind of replicate that success he had against Texas A&M. For defense, someone has to step up big with Tennessee's defensive line is Shy Tuttle. Danny O'Brien, Tennessee senior defensive lineman, as we all know. Thankfully, he was okay after that scary injury against Texas A&M. But this week he was dismissed from the team for undisclosed reasons. So Chateau will have to step up in the big way. Should be getting the start against the Crimson Tide. He's had a great year coming back from that injury. So I think for Tennessee to have any shot, they have to have a great defensive line performance, and that will start with Chateau.
Okay, moving forward, similarly to offensive and defensive players that you will be paying extra close attention to on Alabama.
All right, well, offensively for me, when it comes to Crimson Tide, it's Calvin Ridley. I almost went with Hurts here because true freshman coming into the loudest environment he's ever been in. But Calvin Ridley could have a field day against a banged-up Tennessee secondary. We still don't know how healthy Malik Foreman's going to be. We don't know how healthy Mosley's going to be. Buchanan may get a lot of playing time, and he's still a true freshman regardless of how many bright spots he's had. Calvin Ridley could have a big day against Tennessee. He's by far one of the most dynamic and explosive receivers in the SEC. Defensively, you already mentioned his name. It's Jonathan Allen. Could very well be about one of their top players on the defense for Alabama this weekend. Jonathan Allen has had a huge career. I think always been underrated along that Alabama defensive line. He could dominate the Tennessee offensive line flat out. That's the only way to put it. Tennessee's got to find a way to, whether it be double coverage or something, block him and get him out of the game.
And Sam, you mentioned Calvin Ridley, one of the best weapons on the Alabama offense, great weapons all around, but who's going to throw it to him? That true freshman Jalen Hurts, like you mentioned. It's the first time under Nick Saban we've had a true dual-threat quarterback for Alabama. He's had a very efficient year so far, throwing for over 1,200 yards, rushing for almost 300 yards. He can beat you through the air, as we all know. He's made great plays with his feet. But Sam, like you said, he's going to be walking into the toughest environment he's faced thus far. You know, he's had a good road test at Ole Miss. He came away with a great game. He had over 200 yards passing, over 100 yards rushing. But you know, how's he going to, take in the atmosphere? That remains to be seen. Now, for defense, it is that ball hawk safety, Minka Fitzpatrick. Had a great performance last week against Arkansas. 3 interceptions, took one, like I said, 100 yards back to the house. Dude's been a ball hawk since his freshman year last year, and I think if Alabama, can force Josh Dobbs into mistakes, Minka Fitzpatrick is going to be that #1 option back there waiting to take that ball back to the house.
Moving on to our previews for other games of the week. To start us off, we have #2 Ohio State playing #8 Wisconsin. Gentlemen, what are your predictions?
The Badger defense can definitely give the Buckeyes offense some trouble. However, their offense can't keep up with Ohio State's. Buckeyes are going to win this one 38-21 over the Badgers.
It's going to be a tough environment for Ohio State to play in up in Madison. Those fans are always crazy over there. Like Sam said, Wisconsin's got a great defense, almost beat Michigan in the big house, but unfortunately Ohio State, I think, is going to win the Big Ten, and J.T. Barrett puts a more serious consideration on his Heisman race because I think he's going to lead a game-winning drive up at Wisconsin. I got the Buckeyes 21-17.
Also, #12 Ole Miss will be playing #22 Arkansas at Arkansas. How about that game?
This is Brett Bielema has taken over in Arkansas. This is about the time you don't want to have to go to Fayetteville. I like Arkansas's ability to do exactly what Alabama did and go in with a power run game, as well as tossing in some good deep passes and being able to dominate the Ole Miss defense. I'm going the Hogs 35-24 off the back of their run.
Austin Allen had a great performance last week against Alabama, threw for 400 yards against the Crimson Tide defense. I think he'll have another impressive performance, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Ole Miss has rebounded very well after that rough start to the beginning of the season. Chad Kelly and that entire offense is going to be too much for him. I have the Rebels winning 38-28.
Okay, and the unranked Missouri is playing #18 Florida.
All right. This is a very interesting game. There's going to be obviously a lot of people watching it here in Knoxville because it has major SEC East implications now. Missouri, a lot better team than I thought they'd be at the beginning of the season. That's simply because Drew Lock has figured out how to play quarterback. So with that being said, Missouri's still not going to be quite good enough, although their defense will definitely challenge Florida. I think Luke Del Rio being healthy for this one's the difference. Gators win it 21-14, 7-point win for Florida.
It's fun to finally see Florida play football this week. I don't know what happened last week. I don't know if it'll be made up with whatnot. But hey, they're finally playing this week. I think they're going to have a tough matchup. But what you said, Luke Del Rio's back, and especially that it's going to be in the swamp. It's going to be a tight game throughout, but I got Florida winning on a last-second field goal, 27-24, and a lot of ball fans become nervous.
Okay, and the unranked NC State, after a very wet game against Notre Dame last week, will be playing at #3 Clemson.
Sean Watson has returned to his form of old from last year. That does not spell good things for the Wolfpack's great season. Clemson's going to get it done 38-21 over the Wolfpack.
Deshaun Watson, he's right there in the Heisman race, like you said, Sam. I think Clemson's defense has been playing so much better this year as compared to last year. But I think NC State's going to surprise them a little bit. I think they're going to be able to put up some points, but that whole power of that Clemson offense, Deshaun Watson, Mike Williams, a wide receiver, going to be way too much. I had the Tigers winning 42-30.
And our FCS game of the week is Chattanooga versus the Citadel.
The Mocs versus the Bulldogs, Chat versus the Citadel. This thing comes down to one player for me as a member of your all-name team, Alejandro Benefil, the quarterback for UTC. He's going to get it done. Mocs win 41-28 over the Citadel.
This is a great matchup to keep your eyes on, even though it's FCS. You got two top 10 teams in FCS, the two very best teams in the Southern Conference. You have the number one defense in conference, Chattanooga, against the number one offense in Citadel. They run that deadly triple option, almost average 400 rush yards per game. But UTC has owned the Citadel of late. 6-1 against them over the last 7 years. I think it's going to come down to Keontae Davis for UTC's defensive line. Going to make one too many more plays. It's going to get Chattanooga a 28-27 win.
Okay, also this week, gentlemen, what teams will you be putting on upset alert?
Well, I've been pretty successful with the upset alert so far this season. I'm not feeling uber confident about my pick, however, this week, because I feel like I'm really going out on a limb. I'm going Georgia Southern upsetting Georgia Tech in Atlanta. I don't know. I just feel like the Yellow Jackets might be in a look-ahead kind of mode. Always tends to happen sometimes when you get out of conference after you've been in conference for a few years.
Triple option versus triple option, that's going to be something to watch. But for me, I had a good feeling last week when I picked Navy to upset Houston. I just have another good feeling when I see this game on the schedule. Indiana over Nebraska. Now, Nebraska is a top 10 team, undefeated, as we all know. The Huskers think they're back. But who would they really be? And their best win this year has been over Oregon, who has lost 4 games in a row, and their program's really become a dumpster fire as of late. Indiana pulled a great upset over Michigan State already. I just think it's going to be a close game, and Nebraska just needs to watch out. I don't know how good the coach Mike Rowley is overall, so that just seems like something I have a feeling later.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, Knoxville's very own Tennessee Volunteers will be playing Alabama here at Neyland Stadium. What is your prediction for that game?
It is the third Saturday in October, literally. The game doesn't always get played on third Saturday in October, so it's great to have it back on third Saturday in October, right here in Knoxville, in Neyland Stadium, Tennessee, Alabama, top 10 matchup. This could be a really good game. I really honestly do feel Tennessee has a chance to win if they can do the keys I mentioned earlier, especially if they hold on to the ball. They have a good chance of winning. I'm going to go ahead and say Tennessee can find a way to get this done. 31-28, Volunteers over the Crimson Tide.
I'm not as optimistic, unfortunately, Samuel, and unfortunately for Tennessee. I don't think you're going to get it done this week. There's just too many deficiencies at positions of need against a team as good as the Crimson Tide. You know, Tennessee, usually this fits the formula of teams that have beaten Alabama the last few years. Mobile quarterback, up-tempo offense. You got that, but do you really have the Dogs compete with all 4 quarters with a team that is as stacked as Alabama is? I think they're going to put up a good fight as they have all season, but like last week, it's just going to come short. I have the Crimson Tide rolling 28-24.
Well, there you have it. That was Rock Solid Sports Week 7 preview. Again, if you want to watch UT against number 1 Alabama here at Neyland Stadium, it'll be airing kickoff 3:30 on CBS. See you next week.